Hi guys, this is Tech Howdy. In this video tutorial, we will be creating our update gallery method. And all I'm going to do is first, I'm going to paste the entire update gallery method. I have already coded it, and I'm going to explain to you in step-by-step process how it works. So it saves time as when I type and I explain it's going to take some time. So that's why I'm going to first code the method and then I'm going to explain how the method process works. So let's start from here. So this method is an asynchronous method which is of type HTTP put request, which means when we have an entity that needs to be updated, so we are going to use HTTP put. Now the second thing that we want to specify, the client needs to specify which gallery they need to update, and they can do that by specifying the ID of the gallery, and the ID of the gallery comes from the route of the HTTP put request. So when they are updating the gallery, they will provide us with the new images related to the gallery, or they can also provide us with the new image details or the gallery title. So they can update the entire gallery, and all the information related to that gallery that needs to be updated will be stored in this form data object, which is of type iForm collection. Next step is to check if the model state is valid. If the model state is not valid, then we will return a bad request. We have added two counters over here. One is for the image files, and second is for the details. Uh, in our add method, we had only one counter. That's because when we are creating a new gallery, we are making sure that the user is providing us the images and the details related to the images, like the image caption, image title, gallery title, and so on. But when the client is updating the gallery, they might not want to update the gallery image, but they might only want to update the gallery title, or they might just want to update one image, or they might want to update all the image titles. So we cannot guess that what the client wants to update. Therefore, we have two counters here. One counter that will be used when we are looping through all the files if we received any files, image files, and second for all the details if we received any details like the image title, caption, and so on. Now we have created three objects over here. One that will store the title of the gallery. So that will be in the form data. So if the title needs to be edited, we will store it here, the new title value. Second is we will get the details of the gallery that needs to be updated. So we need to update our old gallery. Therefore, first we need to get the details of that old gallery from our database. And for that, we are creating an object and running a query on our database where the ID of the gallery is equal to the ID that is requested to be updated. Third object here is we have combining our environment web root path with the gallery URL. So as we know that when we are saving the path of the gallery in our database, we are saving it without the environment root path. Now when we get the details, we have to make sure we add the environment root path so that we can do the update on the server. Now the next thing that we are doing is we are adding a condition over here, which is checking if we have received any files. So if we have received any files for update, so if the user or the client wants to update any images, they will upload the new images. So we have to check if we have received any files, and we do that by checking the count of the files. If it is greater than 0, which means we have received some files. Then what we want to do is we are going to create an empty string array, and we'll call it files to delete. Now this we will create an empty array to store all old file information. So we already have some old image files, and now we are getting some new images that we need to update. So first we will get the image path of all the old files and store them in this array, and we can use that to delete the old files. Now we will run a for each loop on each file that we have received in form data. And if the file length is greater than 0, then which means the file exists, then we will extract the properties of the file, like the file extension, the file name, and we will combine our path with the gallery path and the file name plus the extension. For the file name, we are using date time.now. That's to make the file name unique. Now we have the image path. This variable is created because we need to update the new image path in our database. So the new image path that we need to update comes from this object here. So all we are doing is we are combining the path, but we are not adding our environment root part here. We are just adding the gallery URL and the file name and extension. After that, we will create an object to store the ID of the image. So we will get it from the form data and we will attach the counter. So when the counter is 0, which means we will get the first value of the image ID. When the counter is 1, we will get the second value. So that's the reason why we have attached a counter. If we don't attach the counter, every time it's going to get the first value. Now after we have stored the image ID, then we jump and we go to get the info of the image that needs to be updated. So we got the info of the gallery that needs to be updated, and we know that our gallery image is a different table. So we will get the information of all the gallery images that need to be updated and store it in this object called as update image. First, we will store the path of each old file in an empty array. So we're going to store the path of each old file that we have in an empty array. So we have created that array, remember here, and we have assigned the count of the number of files we receive. So when we create an array, we have to specify what is the size of the array. So the size of the array is basically the number of files we received here. Now this empty array, we are going to fill it with the old file path. So we'll get all the parts of the old file and store it in this array. Then we will call the update image.image URL because we need to update the image URL with the new image URL. So we will do that by assigning it the new value. After we have assigned the values to our objects, next thing that we want to do is we want to copy the new files to our server. So we will use a using statement over here. So we open the stream, the file stream, and then we provide the path of the file that we need to update, and then we will create the new file in the folder. So we'll use the copy.sync method on the file. Now the next thing that we have to do is we have to update and save changes in our database, because if without doing this, the database won't get updated. So we will open connection to our database using a variable called as dbContextTransaction, and then using the database.beginTransaction method, we will try to update the values. And we are using a try because if something goes wrong, then we can catch the exception and roll back the changes. If everything goes well, then we can commit the changes in the database. So when we are updating files, imagine that the image file is updated, but the title is not updated, then that is not good. So if something goes wrong, what we want to do here is we just want to roll back everything. That's why we have used this using statement here, which we have not used in the add gallery, but we are going to use it in the update gallery. So here the way we will tell our entity is we'll provide the object that needs to be updated, and we will tell the state of that object was modified by calling the entity state dot modified property. Finally, we will save the changes and then commit it. And at the end, what we want to do is increase the counter by 1, because if we don't increase the counter by 1, then every time it will loop and the value will remain same. So we have to make sure that we increase the value of the counter by 1. So now we are done here with the for each loop. We have looped through. So this loop will run as the number of times that the number of files we have. So if we have 5 files, the loop will run 5 times. After the loop has completely run on all the files, then we will have another for each loop that will run on the files, and this is to delete the old files. Now we have updated the new files. Now we have updated the new files, we have copied the new files to the server. Now it's time to delete all the old files because our update was successful. So again, we run a for each loop on each items on the array which has the old file paths. And then if the image and the file exist, we are checking by calling the file.exist method. And if it exists, then we are going to set the attributes to normal as explained in the previous tutorial. We don't know what is the type of that file. So if the file is read only, we obviously cannot delete it. So first we want to change the attribute to normal and then delete it. After we have deleted all the files, then we will validate and update the gallery title and the image caption. So images of the files have been updated, old images have been deleted. Now it's time to update all the details related to the files. So if there is any title that needs to be updated, any caption that needs to be updated, we are going to do it here. So we are going to call the form data object and check if we have any image caption. And if the image caption is greater than 0, that means the count is greater than 0, then we have some new image captions that we have received. So the title, we will assign it to the title, and then we will specify that the entity state has been modified. And then for each uh, item inside the image caption, so we'll run through a loop and we will assign the value of each image caption to this caption object, each image ID to this image ID cap option, description to description, and alternate text to alternate text. We will update the image details by calling the query. So we'll get the details, old details from the database by running this query. So we'll first get the old details and then we'll update the old details with the new details that we have over here. And then finally, we will again call open a connection with our database. We will begin the transaction and then we will update the details. And if the entity modification was successful, we will save it and commit the changes. And if the modification was not successful, then we will roll back the changes. And finally, we will increment the counter. So understand why we had two counters, one for the files, second for the details of the files. So I have used image caption here. I can use description as well, or I can use alternate text as well. That's because every image file has at least one image caption or one image description or alternate text. So we can use anyone. So I've used image caption because every time we'll receive a caption, we are going to loop through all the details. And we are going to finally send a response to our client which says that the file was updated successfully. Please don't get confused because this is just an explanation, and I know most of you would not understand this because we have not yet submitted a file using a form, submitted a gallery using a form. So once we do that, we are going to set a breakpoint on each method that we have coded. So we will go through each of this process step by step. We'll break it down as much as we can in the upcoming video tutorials where we will loop through each step and we will see what values we are receiving and how the process works in the background. So don't worry, just pay attention on the code now because the actual process will be explained in the upcoming videos. So this is it for the update gallery function. We have one more method that needs to be created, and the method is to update the gallery title. So let me show you a demo. So this method we have already created a method to update the gallery, but sometimes the user wants to just update the title of the slider. So here you can see that we select the gallery and then we click the edit option. Here we can edit the title and the images associated with the gallery, but sometimes the user might just want to update the gallery title and change the gallery from featured to non-featured or active to non-active. So for that reason, we don't need to load all the data from the database. All we need to load is the title and the options to make the gallery featured or active. So we will code another method in the next video tutorial, which the responsibility of the method will be just to edit minimal details rather than the entire gallery. And so because we have an additional tab which has that feature to edit the gallery title, make it active or featured, we will use that method on this tab. So the next video tutorial, we will code the final method, which is to update the gallery by its ID. So that's it for this video tutorial. Once again, the code will be pushed in the DevOps repos. If you have any questions, please use the comment section, and please like and subscribe our channel Tech Howdy.